Let's be completely honest. Are you happy with your job? The fact is, a huge number of people can't say yes to that. Too many of us are stuck in a job we've outgrown or one we never really wanted in the first place. But we stick it out and we give reasons like, what if the next move is worse? And I've put years into this place. And maybe the most common one, isn't everyone miserable at work? But there's a difference between reasons for staying and excuses for not leaving. It's time to get unstuck. It's time for strawberry.me. They match you with a certified career coach who helps you get from where you are to where you want to be, either at your existing job or by helping you find a new one. Your coach helps clarify your goals, creates a plan, and keeps you accountable along the way. Go to strawberry.me/career and get 50% off your first coaching session. That's strawberry.me/career.
It was a good week if you support a team that plays in blue, as both the Bulls and Leinster got big results. Zebra also played in blue and it didn't go so well for them, but we'll get to that eventually. Anyway, this is the URC Rewind. Let's start the show. Hello, everybody. I am joined by the full panel this evening of Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Mohammed. Good evening, gents.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the sake of this evening, I am Welsh Hugh. We are the only podcast that follows the URC with a voice from every single shield, and we're going to be talking about every single game that happened in round 14. So, with 8 games to talk about, with no further ado, we're going to start at the beginning, the very beginning of last weekend, and talk about Sharks versus Cardiff. So, Sharks fan Mohammed, what was your view on this one?
Glad to get the win, sort of a good start, and then we let Cardiff back in. Silly sort of tap penalty to try and catch them off guard, and then the momentum sort of swung in Cardiff's way from that point in the second half until maybe early from that point in the first half until maybe early in the second half. But yeah, overall disappointed that we gave Cardiff a losing bonus point and that we didn't get all 5 points, and that makes it very difficult now getting into 8th place. You want 8th place, even though maybe you're going to lose in the playoffs because you want to get in the Champions Cup. But yeah, decent game. It's a bit indifferent. But yes, 1 point maybe that the star boy from last week, Luan Chileme, unfortunately went off with conflicting reports if it was a hip injury or an HIA. People I know who attended said it was an HIA, and in the comms said it was a hip injury. So that was a bit disappointed. But Jao Penke moved to fullback and he played really well. So good for him.
Everybody, I haven't seen much of this game, but everybody has said to me so far that Cardiff were unlucky and that Cardiff should have gotten more from this game. Why is that?
They were in the game. I mean, Johan Mulder, that just flashed across the screen, former Griquas player. He played well. It's like his reputation of being very strong in defense is valid. I think Cardiff showed why, as South African supporters, we might not follow the Welsh teams that closely, and then Cardiff showed why they're this high up on the log.
Of the Welsh teams, I've noticed I tend to see South Africans comment on Cardiff the most.
When you say coming on Cardiff, you mean defeating them or
no,
struggling with them?
no. Come, just talk about them. Like when you mention when I'm on podcasts talking about, or if I'm on social media talking about the URC, whenever I see South Africans mention a Welsh team, it's always Cardiff.
That's interesting because I follow Scarlets a little closer. Maybe I know the team. It's quite difficult following. I don't want to be derogatory, but like I don't really know that in depth about Zebra because they're like not a threat. So, like in general, we know the Welsh national team is a bit struggling. And just make sure I did, and yeah, and then we know like when South African players would go over to Welsh and play. One interesting aspect is that Bradley Davis, who came back from injury, played the whole game. Ross Brodier was on the bench, and Bradley Davis played really well at scrum half. So glad to see him back. Everybody, because it's sort of a not that many players play with their left foot. That was mentioned a lot by the comms. So yeah, I don't know. I would have preferred we got 5 points and denied Cardiff any points, but it was a fun game overall. there was some bad aspects like Marcus Solomon PP last year when played Cardiff in Wales, he got a suspension for scraping the Cardiff player's face after the Cardiff player sort of doubt sort of like tricked him into that type of thing. He almost got in the scuffle again in this
I
game,
feel
so I was
like
like,
victim
dude,
blaming.
don't fall for the same trick, please. So that almost happened. But yeah, I'll mention Jarpenka again. He gets a lot of grief because his performances are inconsistent, but the last two games he played really well. And Ederson Never's available. And people were saying, why aren't you playing the Springbok? Why are you playing this guy? But that type of thinking in terms of the coaching staff of like, we're not just going to drop guys just because the Springbok's available. If the guy's in form, we're going to make the squad fight for their place, even if you're like a prominent Springbok. So that's kind of cool.
Hmm.
We did think that Eben Etzebeth was available for this game, but now it seems he wasn't because when we counted it seemed like he was, but now it's like he's only available in late April. So yeah.
Oh, well, there you have it. I don't have tons to add from a Welsh point of view on this one because I haven't seen much of the game, but most of the chat I've seen is that it felt unlucky and there was a lack of clinicalness from them, and the fact that all the tries were scored in the first half, I think, tells a bit of a story. And whilst it was a defeat, I think a bonus point away from home and denying the opposition a bonus point is job done at the end of the day for Cardiff. I can see why, because I always thought that Cardiff were kind of home and dry already in the playoffs. We're now looking at the table, and we'll look at it at the end of the show. I can see why people are like, oh, maybe Cardiff will fall out of it just because of the fixtures they've got to go. We'll talk about it close to the time, but Cardiff aren't generally good in derbies against other Welsh teams. So, it's good enough. I think it's acceptable, but based on most of the chat that I've seen online, people are a little bit disappointed not to have gotten more based on how the game went. Anyway, moving on to game number 2, Glasgow, the league leaders at home to Benetton. Let's break with tradition a little bit and talk about the losers first. Benetton, even though they lost again quite comfortably on the scoreboard, they do seem to have gotten a bit better.
Yeah, well, I think when I predicted a roughly similar score margin last week, it's not in the way I thought it would have been. Because I generally thought Benetton were really unlucky not to come away with more. As there was one period of about 5 minutes in the second half that they scored, well, they would have had like three almost tries. Because the first one was disallowed, I think, from a forward pass. The second one was, I can't remember which Benetton player it was, but they're tackled into touch. And then the third one was a knock on right before the try line. I mean, from a Glasgow perspective, it was horrible to watch. But from a Benetton one, it must have been even more frustrating because that's really when the momentum shifted. But yeah, Benetton played really well. You could tell they were up for it.
Hmm.
Early yellow card, but that didn't phase them at all. I think that was before Adogwu scored the first try, I think. Um, which was kind of one of those ones where it's soft shoulders from Johnny Matthews.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think Benetton must be a bit
Oh yeah,
frustrated.
no, I remember that one. I was watching the highlights. It was a
Yeah,
poor missed tackle. To be
yeah.
fair,
Which first game back since what, December? So I'm not going to be too fussed about that. But
people said
yeah,
he didn't look amazing in this one.
no, he was a bit rusty.
Hmm.
But yeah, for Benetton, frustrating for them because I generally thought the scoreboard flattered us more than it should have, as Benetton did. I'm trying to think what it was. They did everything right until Glasgow were just able to start opening the floodgates and scoring tries.
Hmm. It's just another one ticked off for Glasgow, isn't it? It's just another good team turns up and plays good enough kind of thing. Like this was never going to be a cup final for them, but they're just ticking the games off. And now what? It's again, we'll look at the table at the end of the show. 4 games left, still top.
Mhm.
You always would have taken it. You always would have taken it.
Well, yeah, and it's the sort of game that I think Franco would be happy with. Now, they won got all the points they could get from it, but there's still plenty to shape up on and shape up and sharpen up for, especially for next week going into the Champions Cup. But I'm trying to think what was Hugh Jones. I think he needs a rest. He's not been at his best. I think him is a bit, yeah. Johnny Matthews, you could understand, yeah, it's his first game back in such a while. But I think Hugh generally does need a rest after the Six Nations. Just, just for him, not for his ankle, but also for him to just be like, to relax a bit and try and get back into the swing of things. But Fergus Watson, what a debut.
Oh yeah, wasn't it? Isn't he the first ever Glasgow player to score and get player of the match on debut? That was a stat that I saw.
That would actually surprise me, but in a way I can kind of see it. Because he should have he was really good in the preseason games that we couldn't watch them because they're all behind closed doors and stuff. But when you looked at like, the match reports and things, he was praised quite highly, and then got injured in the Scotland 15 Scotland Day camp against Tonga before the men's or like the senior men's team played them the next week, and that was such a shame because I was so excited to see him. And I think Franco was wanting to use him earlier, but I know it was fantastic for him.
Yeah. This is for audio listeners, we're just watching, I think, Bennettson's first try. This is the missed tackle from Johnny Matthews. Paulo Adogbo's got such a unique way of running. He goes side to side a lot. Like that.
It's like the Energizer bunny. The way he runs, it's just like
just a naturally big guy, I think. A big guy. So congratulations to Glasgow. We're not starting with two rippers, I'll be honest, but we're moving on to a good one now because we're going to talk about Leinster versus the Scarlets. I was there. So this was my first time going to the Aviva to see Leinster, and obviously several times I've been to see the Scarlets. My overriding emotion from the game during the game was cold. I felt cold.
Yeah, it's one of the coldest stadiums in the URC. Like, I think even in international games, I've never been warm in the Aviva, but it's a nice stadium, isn't it?
I was in the press room ready. It is a posh stadium, but I was in the press room ready to go up, and the journalist I was talking to, she put on like another hoodie over the hoodie she was already wearing, and she put a scarf on, and then she put a hat on, and then she put a coat over that, and then she put a hood up over the hat, and I was like, what do you know that I don't know? And it was freezing up there. It was like being in a fridge, and the wind. Oh my goodness! I didn't think it was particularly bad weather on the day, but it was. Oh my god, it was brutal up there. Met Leo the lion, the mascot, at the buffet.
Oh wait, it was in costume at the buffet.
Apart from he didn't have his head on.
Oh, that really takes away the magic of it. That really takes. There's something like, I'm an Ulster fan, but something in me died there. And I was like, wait, what do you mean his head wasn't on?
But I did tell him. I got chatting to him. I went, oh, it's Leo, isn't it? And he went, yeah. And I went, oh, the UBB mascot is Leo as well. He went, and is he a lion? And I went, yeah. He went, oh. So Leo the lion, the Leinster mascot, didn't know that there was a Leo the lion, the UBB mascot. So
the cease and desist somewhere there.
I'm the one who told one of the Leo the lions in the world that there was another Leo the lion, the rugby mascot. And in a funny way, I feel like I've changed the world.
You might have. That's if Leo the Leinster lion changes into a tiger next year, we know why.
I don't know what it is about Leo the lion, the Leinster mascot, but there's something. Oh, I wonder if it's gone over in my iCloud yet. Oh no, it hasn't. Oh, I screenshot it before. Oh, it's on
roly poly with his head. Like, he does roly polies and he just uses.
No,
his
yeah,
head.
he does that to the Pirates of the Caribbean music. It was actually quite a good show that they put on. In Leinster. There's something about the way they've done Leo the Lion in Leinster with his mouth open that just makes him look like an absolute lunatic all of the time. Like this picture that is on Leinster official socials of him celebrating. There's also one, I don't know if I could find it. this is very much us gotten sidetracked, but we didn't talk very much about the first two games. So I can we've got time, basically, is what I'm saying. There's a picture of him with a t-shirt cannon, and he looks kind of like Scarface with it. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
My dad once met him, like, well, when we go to like the RDS for like Ulster v Leinster games, and my dad had a couple of drinks, and I just saw him down at the front, and Leo the Leinster line was there, and Dad was trying to take a selfie with him, and he just took off his Ulster hat and just sort of chucked it. I was just like, wow. It is like for mascots. I think Leo is one of the most like close to NFL entertainment that we'd get in the URC. Like I'm not sure if the other ones are like I know Sparky's very good, but yeah, 2012 Heineken Cup final, Leo the Leinster Lion and Sparky did a crossbar challenge at Twickenham, which is a bit of a fever dream saying that. Sparky Sparky didn't wear boots, he had like felt feet, and Leo the Leinster Lion wore boots, and we were all like, classic. Of course, the ones in Dublin have more money. But yeah, Leo Leinster won that one.
Yeah, I'm currently on Leo the Leinster Lions Twitter account, and looking at some old photos and confirming that he is quite insane. Like this is his profile picture, just him with a gun. It's fine. But yeah, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the rugby match. So actually, before we go to the rugby match, Adam, could you just remind everybody the story of why Ulster the bear is called Sparky?
Yes, so Sparky, so he used to be a electrician, and then he found like a bear costume and also were looking for a mascot, and that's why he's called Sparky because he used to be an electrician. Then he retired the same year that Tommy Bowe and Andrew Trimble retired, which is bizarre because there's a photo of me clapping Tommy Bowe and Andrew Trimble, and also Sparky because he's also retiring. But Sparky the Bear is called Sparky the Bear because he used to be a technician, which is such a great story.
Which is
He didn't do roly polies with his head though. But
No.
yeah.
Leo the Lion from Bordeaux also did a lot of roly polies. I was with Maz, who also happens to be an Ulster fan,
Yeah.
which there's a lot of crossover going here. But we saw Leo the Lion, and Maz went, "Do not associate with him. He's trouble." And I was like, "Okay, what does a man in a lion costume do?" Anyway, the rugby match: Scarlets versus Leinster, or Leinster versus Scarlets. A lot more exciting game than I was expecting. I thought that this would be a fairly comfortable walkover from Leinster. And as the scoreboard will kind of show you from the first half, I thought the Scarlets were the better team for the first 20 minutes. I was sat there on the 20-minute mark. I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, I swear we're playing better than them. I swear we're doing better. And I checked my Scarlets group chat, and everyone was going, "We're amazing. We're going to win the league." Like, we're not. I think it's mathematically impossible. But I was very happy with how the Scarlets played, and I'm kind of more happy with. Hang on a minute, NA did not play tight head prop for us. Henry Thomas did. He's a Welsh international. How dare you? Speaking of tight head props, I thought Tadhg Furlong was fantastic. I've slandered him a lot over the last couple of years, but he was very, very good in this game. But we really put it on him. Leinster, 7 penalties and a yellow card conceded in the first 17 minutes. That was Leinster's 15th yellow card of the season in 14 games.
It's mad because I think I think this year I don't know I don't know if I've only noticed this now, but or in this round particularly there were so many yellow cards and red cards that I honestly think that sometimes it's like just we're trying to like Leinster trying to find ways to get out, like they are a very good team and very good teams find ways to try and not cheat. Like the All Blacks are always offside. That's the joke, isn't it? Richie McCaw was never onside, but he got away with it because he was very good. I think teams are trying to do that, but also I think referees are a lot more aware of rules and pinging on discipline as well. But I think it's really interesting. Like the 16 yellow cards would that be the highest in the league here?
Ooh, good question. Let's find out. Now, this is going to involve us going to the URC stats page and scrolling across to discipline. And it's not alphabetical, so you don't go for D for discipline. So, as you can see, Cardiff have got 7 yellows and 1 red. Leinster are on 15 yellow cards. Zebra on 15 as well. Scarlet's on 12, although we did get 2 in this game. Dragons on 7. Osprey's on 11. Miss Munster. Munster on 6. Ugh. So I'm just going through to see if I can find anybody who's got more than 15. And
Oh,
no.
wow.
So
Wow.
there you go.
That's pretty remarkable given what position they were on the table as well. I thought Leinster played really well in the second half. Much as like you said, I think for Leinster's standpoint, I was like keeping up with it like online, was also like I watched the highlights as well, and I think it's massively beneficial to Ireland and Leinster, the fact that their front three was back. Is sort of like Andrew Porter being back is massive for Leinster, but not only Leinster, Ireland, because we've had that loosehead issue this year. And yeah, I thought Leinster took their tries really well from what I saw. Both wingers were clinical. Kenny is I think it's sooner rather than later he gets an Ireland cap. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's one
agree.
of those I think it's one of those situations that we've got like so many good wingers in the country. I can name you probably 3 international standard wingers in Ulster, Connacht, Leinster. Um, Munster's like a bit of a like for wingers, but like they have all the other ones sorted as well. Like they've got like a couple of centers that are good, and they're 9 and they're 10. But I think it's that such a competitive market. But I think Kenny is really good. But I think O'Brien was brilliant. O'Brien was exceptional in the way he was taking his finishes.
I asked him because he didn't just finish, but he also saved a try right at the end. Fletcher Anderson, who was amazing. He's the best number 8 in the league, and I won't hear any argument against it. Fletcher Anderson was incredible in this game. And initially I looked at his stats like, oh, why is no one else carrying the ball except for Fletcher Anderson? And then I looked at all the rest of the stats and I watched the game back. I was like, oh no, it's just because he's amazing. Um, the So he got an offload to Johnny Williams. Johnny Williams looks for all money he was in, but O'Brien siles him down, gets back up, and wins a jackal turnover on his own. And even though he just denied my team a try bonus point, I was like, that's good rugby. Fair play. But on defense, Leinster's defense is amazing until it suddenly stops working. Like when it works, you're like, this is amazing to watch, even when it's against your team. It's like this defense is absolutely incredible. The way that they fly out the line with intent, they close down the space. By the time like the third person has got the ball in the hands, they've got a Leinster player on top of them before they've even caught it legally. But then you just seem to be able to find a way out of it. You can find an edge against Leinster, and if it was a better team than the Scarlets, like I kept thinking, God, if we were Bordeaux, like I think which I often think when I'm watching the Scarlets. But I was like, if we were Bordeaux and it was Matty Jalibert going to Louis Bielbioré, I think they'd be in a bit of trouble. So speaking to a lot of the Leinster journalists after the game, they're like, oh, I don't know if that scoreline reflects the game necessarily, especially because I won't go on about it, but Scarlets had what looked to be a try disallowed. That maybe should have been given, and Leinster had a disallowed try overturned by the TMO, which looks like it shouldn't have done. I think this is the first try. The kick from Johnny Williams, particularly the kicking in behind, really stretched Leinster. And again, I think we had an inside centre playing at 10 because the guy's been playing 10 in the last few games and this is true, revising for his A levels.
Wow.
Yeah. So he wasn't available for this game.
I respect the educated approach.
The Scarlets coach was asked about it, and he said that we're supporting him with his education and getting ready for his exams, and if he has to do resits, we'll support him with those as well. I'm like, all right, calm down.
I
Let's
love
just
that
hope he
he went
passes first time.
yeah, straight for the if he does his reset. That's
Yeah.
yeah. But I think on Leinster's defense, I think it's very much a case of, as you say, when you look at it and it works really well, it's high risk, high reward. You know, it's like that high risk of being caught in behind, or they've for one of Scarlett's tries they were caught out wide. But for those moments, I feel like, you know, a lot of them are only like getting back playing for Leinster as well. And I think it was watching the video on this channel actually when you mentioned I think just beforehand Leo Cullen was talking about how Ireland have a completely different defensive system to Leinster, which I find like I don't know. I think all the provinces have this similar sort of systems, so I'd have
Hmm.
thought they wouldn't have been as shocked. But yeah, I think Leinster had a really really good. I thought Osborne at 12 really worked well as well. I think he's just one of
He's
those.
great. He's
He's
really,
just
really good.
talented, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's really talented. Really talented and really like he's just everywhere on the pitch, and he can cover just about anywhere as well. Um, I thought it was really good having no, actually, I thought it was really interesting the fact that Rico Iwane wasn't anywhere near the squad as well, and it looked like a stronger back line, stronger working, and way more organized. Um, I'd be really interested to hear well, I'd sort of already see online Leinster's reaction to like money and how much money they're paying him, and if next year they were to get an All Black, who would they want? Because they've got, you know, the luxury of having that possibility. But, you know, having somebody like Rico Iwane, you want him to be in these games, you know. You know, he might have been rested, yes, but he didn't like I wasn't on last week, but he didn't necessarily play well last
Ooh,
week, did
no. I've got a white hot cancelable take of which All Black I think they should get.
he? Sean
Let's hear it.
Stevenson.
Let's hear it. You can't just tease it.
Damon McKenzie.
Oh no, that would really
Mm.
make me like as an Ulster fan going like, oh, I really like the Barretts, and then Geordie signed for Leinster. I was just a bit
Ooh.
like, oh, it's just like way to like structure down all the cool All Blacks guys.
Yeah.
He's all signing for Leinster.
Yeah. All right. We won't go there, but you know, read into my selection of Damien McKenzie what you will. Anyway, but generally, from a Scarlet's point of view, I was pretty happy with how we played. I thought we were really, really unlucky not to get um a try bonus point at the end. I think we could have gotten 2 bonus points out of it. Might have been a fair reflection. I do think that Leinster were the better team and deserved to win. I thought that Leinster's gain line in particular was amazing, both in attack and defense. I thought that they just smashed us, and I think that's a problem for us. But when I watched the game back today, and I've had a look at the stats, I'm actually more encouraged than I was when I left the grounds. I thought we were well beaten when I watched the game live, and then when I gone back and watched, like, oh no, we weren't that far away. Obviously, I know that Leinster, their priority is always Europe. Based on what I've seen so far, if I'm just calling it how I see it, I wouldn't say you're contenders for the Europe, the Challenge Cup, the Champions Cup this year. I'm sorry. I think that a better team than the Scarlets would exploit you, and I can see why so many people are so frustrated with Leinster because it does take them a while to get going. And someone posted on Blue Sky that it took the Scarlets going down to 12 men for Leinster to score, or 13 men, but we actually went down to 12 at one point because we had an injury as well. So it's okay, but they did fix it up as the game went on. They pounced on a few Scarlet's errors. They made their chances count, and like I said, their gain line was amazing. So deserved winners, but I can't be mad from a Scarlet's point of view. Anyway, before we go on and talk about the next game, I just want to remind people that if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, you should consider subscribing to the Global Gain Line on YouTube. This is one of the most diverse rugby YouTube channels out there. You'll find on here podcasts, not just about the URC, but you will also find, as Adam alluded to, an interview with Leo Cullen and Tommy O'Brien. I just couldn't remember which one it was for a second there. Tommy O'Brien after the game. There's a women's rugby podcast. We do these breakdowns of the team sheets between each ahead of every fixture. There's a specialist Irish pod called the Interpro Show, which Adam is on. There's a specialist Top 14 show, which I host. That's every single week. And there's going to be more women's show this week. There's going to be the USA show this week as well. I think, Mohammed, are you doing a bit of an animal this week?
Yeah, we'll be on tomorrow night. Look out for that.
Okay, cool. So it's all the things are happening all of the time. It's a bit of rugby from a bit of everyone, and that sounds like a bit of you. Please consider subscribing. Okay, that's Friday night's games. Where are we on to next? Ooh, we're on to the Blue Bulls against Munster. This was a tasty game. We feared the worst for Munster after what we've seen in recent games. The scoreline looked a bit better. Having watched the highlights, it felt like the Bulls always had their noses in front. Mohammed, do you want to just go from a South African point of view first? What are your standouts from this game?
Yeah, Bulls did what I expected them to do. Yes, they gave Munster 2 losing bonus point, but they got their 5 points. Bulls, like the Lions, are really building momentum now. Reasonably solid squad in terms of selection and stuff. Consistent, shall I say. Standouts for me would be Stedman Gans, who moved from inside center to outside center from last week and
He
had
looked good.
a very
He looked good.
very good game again. Somebody who's sort of been on the fringes of the team, never got that long a run in the game.
Did he play for the Stormers last year? Oh my God.
No. Stedman's been with the Bulls for some time now. Very talented. Bulls have a lot of these talented young guys who are like in and out of the team. Another one would be Servino Jacobs, but he wasn't in this team. Having Cameron Hanekom off the bench, obviously Cameron Hanekom will say that he's the best number 8 in the URC and not what's that New Zealand dude's name? Ferguson. But yeah,
Freddie
he's coming back
Anderson.
from yeah. Close enough. Kenan Moody at wing instead of outside center. He had a good game. I think my predictions from last week actually came true because last week there was a lot of South African teams blowing out the other teams, and I felt like the games are going to be much closer this week. I didn't expect Munster to give Crowley and Casey the call this soon. I thought maybe they'd only play next week,
We'll come on to that.
but that helped Munster a lot. I think the scoreline was a little further back, and then Munster sort of scored towards the end as well. I think the Bulls also might have scored late. No, that was the Lions.
The
But
Bulls
yeah, look,
kicked 2 penalties in the second half, which I was surprised about.
yeah, exactly. So very interesting. I also found that to be interesting. Very interesting game management. Very good kicks from Pollard, by the way.
Oh yeah, they were
Yeah,
awesome kicks.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then
flew
sort
over.
of it's interesting to see. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how the Bulls, they don't have that many injuries and they've got a relatively solid squad. So interesting
Well,
how they
I was going to
manage.
say, I mean, if we look at this
the-
back line, I've been open that I'm not sure, apart from the Sharks, I'm not massively impressed by the centre combinations at any franchise. I know Hans played well in this game. But then if you look at the rest of the back line, if I go back to front, Willie Leroux, Caden Moody and Curtly Aronson, that's a decent back three. You know, it's only an international quality back three. And then you got Andre Pollard at 10, who based on what I've seen from this game, played very well. And he does seem to be getting into the groove. He's playing a lot of games. He's playing a lot of matches due to the lack of options at the Bulls. And, we'd all talk about Cohen Bosch and stuff. So it's good to see him play himself into form. And then the man of the moment, Mohammed, Ambrose Papier. Is it finally the Papier year?
The weird thing is that he's been around for so long. He's never played overseas, not in Japan or in Europe. He was in the previous rugby administration, the previous Springbok coaches' plans before Rassie took over. I think he got 1 or 2, him and Zach Berger or that other or Ivan van Zyl. I think they might have gotten 1 or 2 games when Rassie initially came in, but Papier has not been, he didn't go to either of the World Cups we won. He's not been in the system. But the thing is that he's not doing his chances any poorly because he's playing really, really well. And people who
6
support
tries in his last 4 games.
not just the Bulls, but people who just follow South African rugby are saying, sort of, how come he not? But the reality is that the calls are allowed, but I think the South African public is like, look, this coaching staff won 2 World Cups, so they get the benefit of the doubt. So they're seeing stuff that we don't, and there's a introspection of like, he's probably a really talented player, but he's maybe doesn't have like the things that they particularly want. What that is, only they know. But like, look, we've got lots of talent, and this happens like all the time. Somebody's always like bursting. But he's not bursting through. He's quite a veteran now. So yeah, I'm super surprised he hasn't taken up a contract in France or Japan yet. He's been in the South African system the entire time.
But here's my thing: is South Africa's scrum half options are. I think there's room for more in there. I mean, like, what's his name? Cobus played well last season in the Rugby Championship.
Mhm.
Fair play to him. Grant Williams, I think, is class. He's been a little bit out of form since, but he had a very good year in 2024, I think it was.
Mhm.
Faf is done. It's the
Faf
end.
is still in, Faf is still in the squad though. So Papir is playing really well, and Faf we don't see Faf because where does Faf play these days? Japan, right?
Yeah, Faf is signed for the Cheaters for next season. It's done. It's over.
Yeah, and
That's
it.
that's retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
all these guys are like
If they're going
people.
to call up Faf, they might as well call up Ruben Pina.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but then
that'd be
Adam
lovely.
is
Like
gonna
that.
lose his mind.
oh, that'd be lovely. Sorry.
And then you got
Just
Morley
repeat
van der
it.
Berg down at the lines playing good rugby. Don't get me wrong, playing good rugby.
Yeah. Jaden hasn't been in that great a form. So look, all those questions are valid, but because the coaching staff has such a so much credit in the bank, we goes like, oh, this is weird, but look, we're not as smart as them. They probably know stuff we don't. But yeah, maybe I hope Papir, under certain circumstances, makes it back into Test rugby. Yeah.
I think he deserves a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. So, but we've said how many times have we said that? Anyway,
Yeah.
but
I mean, we could say that about Pepsi Buthelezi, who also had a blinder this week, but Pepsi's form has been sort of up and down as well. Yeah.
Adam, from a Munster point of view, it can't just be that when Jack Crowley plays, they're good, and when he doesn't, they're not.
But it is. It is. It's one of those where I think they weren't necessarily helped with the injury to Nash with the HIA in the first 10 minutes. JJ Hanrahan came on and basically played wing, which given
What?
the
What?
well it was like the way it worked out. Well, he played wing for because Nash had a failed HIA, so he was playing on wing. So there's like when you watch the game back, it's sort of like the last minute tackles were sort of missed because he was sort of in the wing. Like there's no one that they could really like. It was Crawley who was kind of doing it defensively in the back three as well. Like Crawley can play 15. But I think, any team would struggle if you lost a winger in the first 10 minutes. You didn't necessarily have a winger
I'm
to
just gonna
like
have a
a
wee
winger.
look at the lineups now. There must have been a better solution than that.
Well, it was a 6-2 split, and they had John Hodnett at 23 or Paddy Patterson. So it was JJ. Like when you have a 6-2 split, I think this is my opinion of a 6-2 split. I think it only really works well in international rugby because I feel like you can be a lot more suited in international rugby compared to club rugby with a 6-2 split, and that sort of proved it. You lose a winger and you only have a scrum half and a 10.
I was
Do you know
going to
what I mean?
ask. I was going to ask Nigel Davis. I didn't get to talk to him in the end about the Scarlets because I was like, why don't we go for a 6-2 split? Because our squad is made for that. And then during the Leinster game, both wingers went off injured. So I was like,
But
there you go.
yeah, I think it's so important to have that utility back option, and you'd see it with like the likes of Leinster,
Isn't
for
Crowley
example.
the utility back?
Crowley is the utility. Well, yeah, he's the utility back, but he was always the first receiver, and he was always the first receiver when it came to attack as well. But I think he sort of dropped back in defense as sort of cover, and Hanrahan sort of came up. But there was aspects where they were caught out. I do think though that Munster wouldn't have been mad with this game. 2 bonus points, two very much needed bonus points, considering. At the start of the South African tour, they weren't exactly great. You have the aspect of both the Dogbro brothers who played incredible. To be fair, they were absolutely phenomenal, and it was Sean that sort of hooked on to Edwin for that last try. But on the first question that you said to me, I do think Munster play considerably better with Casey and Crawley playing. They're like a different team. It's you can have any type of backline out there and they play so much better, and Casey speeds up the game as well. Crawley is, I think he's sort of shown it in the Six Nations, and I'm not mentioning Ten Talk for that, but he's a game-changing player, and when he's on the pitch for Munster, he changes games. I think they wouldn't have necessarily been that close if he wasn't on the pitch. Considering he missed out on 2 kicks though, and if they would have had those 2 kicks, we'd have been talking about a completely different story, and they would have won by a point. That's the only thing that he really needs to sort of square up. But in terms of attack, in terms of defense, he's a really smart intellectual player, and that's what they need. And as I said, the Nash injury in the first 10 minutes slowed their team down, and the Bulls really capitalized on it. Andre Pollard's I think it was his 61st minute kick when he was about bang on 50 meters, right a bit in front of the posts. And he went, yeah, I can just take that, and it went so nicely through. I thought it was for how well Munster played, I thought Bulls were really good in terms of battling it out and playing really smart rugby. The two missed conversions helped their game management as well, because then they were like, we're not going to take the penalty to try anymore. Let's take the penalties and see how that goes. But I think Munster scoring 5 tries in South Africa against a very, very good, well, a very decent Bulls team. It's nothing to be sniffed at. Well, it's something to be sniffed at, because I think, is that like a turning point in how they're going to play their games? They're going into the Challenge Cup next week. They want to be contenders, I would say. They would want to be contenders for that. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I thought the likes of Tom Ahern taking 2 tries very well as well. They did have a couple of moments where they outmuscled the Bulls pack, especially around the edges and around the fringes. But as I said, that the Bulls backs were phenomenal.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so that's that game. Let's now move on to the next one, which is Connacht. I saw there was a bit of Connacht controversy this weekend, but we'll move on from that quickly. And they played a team called the Ospreys. And it finished 21 points to 14. It was nervy. This was a little bit of a knockout game. This was a little bit of a... because Connacht could keep in the hunt for the playoffs and also effectively knock the Ospreys out of it. And I think there was a lot of nerviness from it. And I watched the first half of this one, or most of the first half of this one. And I thought that Connacht's game or territory management was really poor in the first half, because they kept going from their own 22 to like the Ospreys 10-meter line. It was great. And then they'd make a mistake, and then the Ospreys would kick it back, and they'd do it again, and then they'd do it again, and then they'd do it again. And they weren't scoring. And I was like, one of your halfbacks needs to look where you are on the pitch and then kick the ball. And they just weren't doing it. And then eventually they turned the ball over and the Ospreys went and scored. And I just think they made it unnecessarily difficult for themselves. And then the Ospreys had a bit of a period and they managed to get it in the end. It was a bit of, what we're saying, divine intervention, divine inspiration.
Divine, divine intervention, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really nice as an Ulster fan, is he's heading up the road in our direction next season.
Oh, wasn't that the one where Connacht put on socials like, we are disappointed by his decision?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I thought this is a very good game. Like this is another one that my 6-2 split theory works, because very early on in the game, Finn Tracy went off injured. So who came on? Jack Carty. It's one of those where my 6-2 theory worked so well in this weekend, where I thought it doesn't work on club games. Yeah, but I think, yeah, I think Connacht are winning ugly games, and that's quite frightening, because it's a very, in the past, well, last week as well, which I missed out. It's no correlation to the fact that Connacht beat us. I was working. Anyway, but I think Connacht winning these games sort of is showing the Stuart Lancaster effect is fully in force. This is their 5th game in a row where they've won. They're starting to pick up points, and as you said, like every game is a knockout for those, well, everywhere between, I would say, 6th and 13th. Like the URC is so tight at the minute that Connacht can't afford to let go of anything. I think they'd be happy for the win, but I think they would have looked at this game beforehand, looking for a bonus point, especially after the win against Ulster last week. Saying that though, Ospreys came to play. I thought Jack Morgan was everywhere. I thought he was all over them. He was just, every time something good went for Ospreys, Jack Morgan was somehow there, whether it be like a clear out in a ruck or something like that as well. I thought Bundyaki had a very good game. It's one that he has got the year contract. I think he's trying to prove the ones like, well, I would say that I was one of those that is sort of questioning based on age, but he always proves me wrong. And as an Ireland fan, I don't mind that. I don't mind getting proved wrong by
Yeah.
really good players, but it's those players that Bundy and like that really drives forward a team. And I think Connor, looking back on this, in past years, I would have lost that. I thought the Matthew Devine try at the end was very good and very well taken as well. Sean Naughton, with his kicks as well, he's turning out to be a really good player as well. It's like they've got loads like this Connacht team have the potential to get a top eight, and I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't. And the Stuart Lancaster effect is in full force, and I'm afraid how well as the Irish host, I'm excited to see how they go on. Not necessarily last week, but I'm excited for any other game.
Well, they're still in touch. They're still in touch, which
That's it.
unfortunately the Ospreys aren't now. I think they're 11 points off with 4 games to
Yeah,
go. There doesn't seem to be much coming back from that. And I think the most damning thing that I can say is I never really felt that they were winning this match. Even when they like got back into it and they showed a few things, you never thought that they were going to overtake Connacht. You felt they had it in them to, excuse
yeah,
me, draw level, but never kind of overtake them. And there was a lot of hype about the players they were getting back, Jack Morgan, Dan Edwards, stuff like that. Two tries in the one in the first half, one in the second. Okay, it was a low scoring game, but I think it's proved that you need to be able to score more than that, especially if you want to go to the playoffs and be competitive there. Like I said, they took their first try relatively well, but I always felt that Connacht had something in hand.
yeah. I also this is like a little bit off thought. I do love the fact that they had Matthew Devine and Matthew Victory come off the bench, because you can argue that it was a divine victory. But yeah, as you said, I think Connacht were like they were in control, and it's the way that Lancaster likes to play, and you can really see his sort of fingerprints all over this victory, much like the three other victories beforehand. It took a while settling in, but I, for one, welcome our Connacht overlords.
With their nice new stand and stuff.
Yes, they're very, very nice new stand. Looks lovely.
Happy for them. So happy for them. Anyway, next game. We are going to talk about Lions versus Dragons. Now, this was on at the same time as Connacht versus Ospreys, and I was flicking between the two. I have to say that this one was vastly more entertaining. Wouldn't you agree, Mohammed?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was so great to see the Lions pulling victories together against a worthy opponent. The Lions also have a Lions mascot. His name is Mustafa. The only Leo I acknowledge is my friend's kid, Leo, who's down in Australia, future rugby league and/or rugby union star, big kid. Shout out to him. But yeah, Lions, again, consistent team that they're able to select. They do have quality players. They're getting into form. Nice to see Estienne Oosthuizen in there, former Shark. Maashe, former Baby Bok, didn't break immediately into the team, but yeah, he had a fantastic game. Great first try, bumping off the Dragons players. But like I figured, it was a tight game despite the score line. I mean, there was no nulls this week, but then the Lions sort of pulled away towards the end. Eric Cronje, like unheralded player, but the center combo of Bronson Mills, very young, and then Henko van Wyk, fantastic player in itself. Henko van Wyk, very much like Emperor's Papier. Everyone's like, hey, how come he's not in the Springbok team? He was in the fringes of the team. Eddie Davids, Currie Cup winner with Griquas, now very much a part of the Lions setup, and their punch off the bench is actually quite good as well. I mean, Richard Cronje, David Cronje's brother. So David plays for Bulls and Richard plays for the Lions. They've got a good bench, is what I'm trying to say. They can actually change the game and or rescue it, or just put the screws on the opposition over the bench. So that's kind of cool. Look, it's unlikely the Sharks make the playoffs, but I'm really stoked if the Lions made the playoffs. And they don't play in the Challenge and or Champions Cup these next 2 weeks. So for them, they can actually rest and recoup
Massive.
and maybe play. Whereas other teams like Connacht, who are going to get bludgeoned by the Sharks next week, this coming weekend, might be affected by this
The Sharks bludgeoned?
European thing. Yeah. Um, yeah, we'll have to see how these things pan out. Because even if some teams win their first games in this Challenge or Champions Cup, they play another game. So then they go immediately into the URC, and how fresh and focused are they going to be for the next round of the URC? We're going to have to see. So Lions don't have that issue. So I'm looking maybe even an outside chance of them like stealing fourth. I haven't really looked at the log, but yeah, I hope for their sake. I mean, they do play like some tough games at home, including a Glasgow, which is going to be tough.
Yeah, Ethan, you watch a team who's recently played the Lions.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah, no, they're great, and it's the sort of thing that it's quite good for them to be, I feel like they're kind of the underrated South African team in that when they are starting to get good, the players end up being drafted to one of the other teams. So
Yeah, true.
hopefully they are able to build on this.
Forward.
Yeah, they're our Connacht. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some great tries in this game. I'm going to see if I can find Rio Dyer's. One
Yeah.
of Rio Dyer's. I think he scored two. Yeah, this one. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Check out this catch. Oh. Yeah, even the South African commentators were like, "Oh, did you see that? Play that again." What about this?
And credit to the Dragons because they had to score late to get that 4-try bonus point, and they went for it and they got it. Yeah, so
just generally really enjoyed the game. I think it's because this is the BKT account. I need to go on the Vodacom account to find all the Lions tries and stuff. But just so entertaining, so watchable. Love their offloading. Love their it's just sort of the attitude, the running from deep. You always know that they're going to score a try. Loads of line breaks, and we'll talk about another South African team in a bit who could learn a thing or two. But I just
yeah. One interesting thing is on the broader RAP Global Gain Lines extended cinematic universe. I had to think about it. Lions actually had the most representation because it's my predecessor, South African Allen. He's a Lions supporter. Sibusiso, Temin Kosi, and Jan de Koning all support the Lions. So other than maybe a Welsh team, Lions actually had the most representation across
So how
all the
come every
pods.
time I put a Lions player in the thumbnail, no one clicks?
Yeah, because they're not online. They're busy modifying their car.
Ah, well, we know that the Lions themselves aren't particularly online. You know, the whole. Wait, are you able to tell the story of the whole happy birthday thing?
No, I'm not familiar with that. What's going on?
So apparently the only thing that the Lions Instagram account ever used to post was happy birthday to their players when it was their player's
Oh,
birthday.
they're a little more busy now these days, but yeah, because now that they're winning. But and they I think they post from the ladies team as well, and the ladies team is doing quite well as well. So shout out to them.
We'll tune in for a bit of animal for more on that. So yeah, congratulations to the Lions. From a Dragons point of view, they played some good rugby. Yeah, they've shipped a few points today. Yeah, fine, but they got a 4-try bonus point, and I think they came out of there with credibility. I think they've come out of this South African tour with plenty of credibility. You know, Aaron Wainwright was playing in this game, just a really, really good player. It was nice to see Rio Dyer get on the score sheet. He's a player I've got a bit of a soft spot for. And even though it's 2 losses, I think that they can come out of this and say, "Yeah, we played some decent rugby at times." And if you're playing the Lions in Joburg, they're not going to be. They're not first team. They're not going to be the last team to ship a few points because the Lions are just in that kind of Lionsiness at the moment where they're scoring for fun. And speaking of fun, there was none of that in this next game that we're going to be talking about. Stormers versus Edinburgh. Ethan, I turned this game off out of sheer boredom twice.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably just put the highlights over it with Benny Hill music. Like nobody could catch a ball, nobody could hold on to the ball. The lineouts just didn't function for anybody. I think what sums it up best was I'm pretty sure Edinburgh somehow got a penalty, or they tried to take it as a tap and go and then immediately knocked it on. And it was just so typical. Oh, it was a shame though, because I mean, it was a bit. Eventually, when something exciting happened, I can't really remember the first Stormers try. I feel,
It
I
was
feel like it was
scored by Ivan
just a,
Ruth on the 25th minute.
yeah. I feel like that was just a line break, wasn't it? Am
Yeah.
I? Yeah.
I'll find the highlights later.
But the James Lang one, that Edinburgh needed that just for something.
That was a 14-point swing, wasn't it?
Yep. And after that, I'm trying to remember what it was. Who was it? The best bit of Edinburgh I've seen them play for quite some time for like a minute was in the lead up to I think it's the Fenter try that they managed to get everything done right. But then after that, unfortunately, I didn't watch the last 20 minutes because I had to head home. But yeah, presumably Edinburgh pulled in Edinburgh, and the Stormers were just able to hold out and just
Well,
barge through.
what was it you put in the chat? This is a stoppable force against a movable object.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I'm pretty sure I said that last week, and I was right. It was, it wasn't the best.
Ugh, I've just been scrolling through the team sheet and I've gotten to the bit where it said Damien Willems on the wing and Warwick Lance at fullback. I'm like, ugh. I'm very sorry for if Warwick Lance's dad is watching or something, but literally every single thing that he did was bad in this game. Like,
Well,
I'm sick of it.
he had a few good passes though.
Did he?
When
Did he really?
Zas, I don't think you watched the whole game, but when Zas threw the early line out in, got it to Haaland. Haaland then gave the ball off. Also for Nchunu's try, Haaland looked the one way and then threw the ball to Nchunu. Nchunu was very much involved in this game. Nchunu, as a loose head prop, thought of coming through the Sharks youth system. Thought of as maybe our next beast, but like Beast, he was sort of struggling early on in his career in terms of the scrumming, but very mobile because like Beast, he started as a loose forward. So it was interesting is Nchunu had a very silly yellow card early on in the game when he slapped the
Yeah.
ball down from the 9. I mean, I'm sure John Dobson was angrier than Jeff Parling this weekend when Nchunu did that. But then he like redeemed himself because he had a great run. He offloaded it and then he scored a try himself. Even Rose scoring 2 tries was good. Yes, everybody I know who watched the game live said it was fantastic. But it's just like when you're in the game, when you're at the stadium, it's like you're more engaged and it's maybe very tense the first part of because I mean the first points only scored on the 25th minute. But the Stormers will tell you, hey, we got the result. The whole Damien Willems.
That's exactly it. That's exactly
Yeah.
it. Is that now Stormers fans will say bonus point win at home, job done.
Yeah.
And it's
But
like,
wow,
no, you were.
Edinburgh are bad.
It was awful. It was terrible rugby for like an hour. It was an absolute shambles of a game. It was like the Goof Troop were fully back. Oh, Stormers, I've done so much for you. I've stood up for you so much this season. I did so much research about you and everything that you're doing. And I talked to Dobbo and stuff. And you go and play like that. I couldn't believe it was like you'd never met. It was like they had never even met.
Yeah, and then next week they got to play Toulon. So let's see away. So let's see
Toulon
how
are
that.
Toulon are in very bad form.
So it's more than stuff. So, but what also interesting was is that they had they've got a lot of good scrum halves. I don't know if Renak is injured or not. He hasn't been in the mix in a while, but they started Angra and they had Deva Devanaga, who's also a coach on the bench. He's the Stormers he's part of the coaching staff and he's a player coach thing. Yuri Mattia, nice to see him. And then Evan Connor played. Oh, Dion Fourie, late try, fantastic from that. So that sort of pushed the score up a bit. But yeah, the whole Damien Willems at wing thing, he was swapping about, according to people I know at the game, said he was sort of, it was like a head fake. Galant was mostly actually playing wing and Galant.
Well, he was telling
Damien Willems,
Galant, for God's sake, don't touch the ball, let me do it.
and then obviously with Dan Duplessis and Rowan Nell at the centers, that's the more like stable center pairing, and then getting Paul De Villiers back, that's also vital. So Stormers and my understanding is nobody got sent to the hospital because of the pitch, so that's a win.
Well, that is a win. So what you're saying is, at the end of the day, rugby was the winner. But
Yeah.
okay,
and all my
right,
friends were in the stadium.
Mohammed,
came
brace
home very
yourself.
happy.
Brace yourself. I'm about to ask you a question. Okay, here we go. The Stormers only looked like a competent team when Yuri Mathia came on the pitch. Discuss.
Yeah, well, Sasha was a bit more measured this week, and then Yuri Mattia has a different sort of game plan. Maybe he plays a bit more in the pocket and structured and stuff. So move Sasha to fullback. I don't know. Like the big thing could be Sasha fullback, Damien Willems inside center, and then Yuri Mattia at fly off. We'll have to see.
I don't want to be that guy because someone put on socials earlier this year, like really early in the season, said that the Stormers are better with Mattia at 10. They need to move Sasha back to somewhere else. And I was like, no, don't be that. No. Sasha is, the chosen one. He's the star boy. You can't do that. And now I've watched the Stormers a lot since, and I'm like, but they do look better with Material 10.
And the weird thing is that Sasha looks better for the Springboks than the Stormers, but it's a different sort of setup. He's surrounded by like a
Maybe it's
different
because
kind
the
of thing.
team is better.
Yeah, could be. I think like
But
then
as
that
I've
gives him
said,
the
I'm Team
platform.
Money. I always have been, and I always will be Team Money. And no amount
Yeah.
of evidence will change my mind.
Yeah, I've seen your burner account on Reddit on the Stormers Reddit. I was like, wait a minute, that looks familiar.
That's not true. But I've always been Team Money, and I'll never change my mind. So I think there's fuck it, I'm here now. The Springboks are better with Manny, and the Stormers are better with Mattia. I'm not even a Sasha hater at all. I think he's awesome. I just have to say what I see. I just say what I see. Anyway, where are even Edinburgh in the table now? We'll have a look. We'll have a look a bit later. We'll have a look at the table a little bit later. Oh God, I'm going to get cooked for all that Sasha hate in the comments and stuff. I don't hate him. I think he's really cool. It's just that's just what happened. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Anyway, last game. Adam, Ulster. Everything is fine. Question mark?
Yeah. Considering last week, a bonus points against Zebras welcomed. However, we were quite poor in parts. Zebra started really well. I think Zebra played a really. I think the scoreboard flatters us. Is what I'm going to say first. I think Zebra were really they put a dogged performance against us, and we were sort of. I think also we looked a bit shocked at some of the reactions. Um, I do think that there's aspects of the game that when um that we should have like really like switched on. Like the first half wasn't great. Then there was a red card for the Zebra winger, based on an eye poke on Stuart McCluskey, which
I've seen the replay for that. He really went for it as well.
it
He had
did
a
he
couple of
did, but
goes.
Andy Good and Stephen Ferris were like, "Oh, that wasn't too bad," and I'm like, "In what world?" I do it. This is like something that I've seen, like even on the comments on online. I'm like, in what world does anyone poking anyone's eye not result in a straight red? Everyone's like, this is a ludicrous call. This is a ludicrous call. And I was like, no, he properly goes for it as
Gazy is
well.
on my radar now because against the Scarlets he got a bit gob. He didn't do anything like this, but he had a bit of an attitude on him against the Scarlets. Now he's done this in this game. So I've got my eye on you, Simon Gazy.
I've got my eye. I've got my eye. He didn't have his eye on Stuart
Yeah,
McCluskey's eye.
no, actually, sorry, not my eye. I've got my safety goggles on you, Simon Gazy.
Yeah, I've got my glasses on and another pair of glasses in front of me. But yeah, then it came to the second half, and I did think we played way better. I think Rob Herring took a very good try just off the bat in the second half, and it almost made me felt like I was like 16 again watching Rob Herring come off the base of a maul and scoring a try.
It was a good
Um,
finish.
it was a really good finish. I think Werner Koch played exceptionally well.
Well, he needs to. You need him now with Balakoon out.
Well, we need him, but also I think we're losing him. So it's one of those that
Oh.
the Ulster like pages and there is a lot of call for when's the Koch extension gonna be announced? When's it gonna be announced? You know, Koch's on fire. Can someone help with an extension on my cock? No, Werner Koch. Anyway, um,
Ah,
so it was
good
one of
clean fun.
those good clean banter. But yeah, it's one of those where I do think for an Ulster standpoint, he's a very valuable player in a position that we have a lot of players necessarily that are younger. He was exceptionally, he played so well. He played it the way that we need him to play. He took so many high
I did not
balls.
know. I did not know that this highlight that I just clicked on was going to be a Werner Koch highlight. That's extremely
Yeah.
fortunate on my part.
But that was like the second time. He's really good at taking a ball above his hands, like and above his head. It's like using it like it was mental. But he was exceptional.
What can you
Gus,
say? Cock and balls.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. What can you say? But this one here, I want to note, Juano Augustus's break was exceptional.
He's a
He's
large man, isn't he?
he's a big unit, and I tell you what, it's really good to see how quick he can be as well. Considering the injury that he had, it was an ankle based injury. It was like it's really good to see how quick he is and how he just bounces off
I
players.
have to say that the
And
zebra tackler did not want it.
Mm.
The
no,
zebra
no,
tackler's made a business decision.
we can ask everyone on the panel if you had 10,000 of your currency, would you have Augustus run at you? I would say no.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought it was really interesting that Nathan Doe came on at 10. We didn't have
That
any
is
10
interesting.
cover. We're a bit stretched for 10 at the minute. So we had James Humphreys, David Humphreys' son, playing for us as well.
Mm.
Um, Looked all right, to be fair, hasn't had much senior experience. And then on the 69th minute, Cox scored the bonus point try. And, going into the game, I saw that smirk here. I
Yeah.
saw, but it was a really well taken try. But at the end of the day, we needed that bonus point, and it wasn't exceptionally a great game. Like, it wouldn't set the world on fire. I thought the Zebras try at the very end was really good. The winger celebrating before the try, though, I didn't really like that. And the
And
way
then
he
he
plays,
went big on the celebration afterwards. I was like, dude, check the scoreboard. You're losing by a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that. It's like that meme where it's the guy and he's celebrating the champagne.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
he's like 17th, and it's like 30th, and they're all looking at him. But but it was one of those where he took a really good try. I don't necessarily know if he actually grounded the thing, to be honest with you. That's my hot take. But yeah, it wasn't something that was set the world alight, but it was a very good performance by Augustus and Cock. It's really good to see Stuart McCluskey back in the Ulster team as well. We're building, like, we lost last week. We were a bit shaky, but this week we were still shaky, but we won by a bonus point. And at the end of the day, it's these bonus points that we're racking up. Last year we didn't have enough bonus points and we didn't make top eight. This year, hopefully, we're in the driving seat to go top eight, and people are talking about top four push. We've got a very difficult couple of games coming up, but
Well, let's have a look at the
um,
table now. Excellent
yeah.
segue. So, as the race for eight, which they haven't started posting on socials yet, but we beat them to the punch. The race for eight is on, and I need to move my into Zoom viewer thingy out of the way. Glasgow are top with 55 points after 14 games. Not bad, not bad. Oh, so they've got 11 wins and 55 points. So it's a try bonus in pretty much every game. How many? Yeah, 11 try bonus point, or 11 bonus points total. Anyway, pretty good going. They are 4 points clear of Ulster and 8 points clear of. Sorry, I misspoke. They are 4 points clear of Stormers and 8 points clear of Ulster. Ethan, they've got to hang on to a top 2 spot from here, surely.
Yep. It's going to be a tough one because I think it's South Africa next, Cardiff at home, then Ulster away, which we should be able to get at least, some points from South Africa. I'm not expecting 2 wins or anything, but at least maybe 4
I think you can get 2 wins. Who you got again? Stormers and.
Stormers and Lions.
I think you can win both of those. I'm saying it now.
Because I think we got 7. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what year it was. We got 7 out of 10 one year. I think it was the one we did win, the URC, where we did lose to Lions in a similar Edinburgh style fashion, but then we managed to get a win against the Storm.
I remember that. I remember when Lions beat Glasgow. That was peak Lions. That was like they were running them in from everywhere.
Yeah, you can't be mad at that. Yeah.
But what state are Glasgow going to be after these 2 Champions Cup games? They got to play the Bulls in Scotland first, and if they defeat the Bulls, they're slight favorites. Who do they play next? And then they have to fly all the way down there to Johannesburg first, and then play in Cape Town.
Yeah,
So that's also a factor. It's not like they're just going straight into another URC
I think
tour.
they can do it, though. I think they can do it. This is what's interesting. It's become very interesting. So Stormers, obviously, we kind of touched on them there in the second position still. And the same number of wins as Glasgow.
Mhm.
and the second best points difference in the league. But Mohammed, it just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, we're on vibes. But so they got Connacht in Cape Town, which is a repeat.
They've got
They
a
got
very
Connacht.
favourable run in.
Yeah.
Very
And then they've got
decent.
Glasgow, which is going to be a fantastic game on the 25th. I'll try and attend that. But then they've got a tough sort of tour to end the season away to Ulster. That's never easy. I mean, they have a bear. And then they've got Cardiff away. So maybe they can get a winner in the last game of the season away. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Yes, they do have a Champions Cup game is Toulon, but I don't really favor them. So I think they will get a little bit of a break and then 2 home games. So yeah. I don't think the Stormers will leapfrog Glasgow, but I think they'll do well to secure second place.
Mm. And then we've got Ulster in third with the third best points difference. In fact, the top 4 all go in points difference order, which is very pleasing. How are you feeling, Adam? How do you
How did
feel?
how did we get here? Like considering our next 4 games we spoke about at the start of the season, our next 4 games is possibly the like, and also we've got a
Your
Challenge
running
Cup
is
game as well.
crazy. Ulster's
Our
running
running,
is like, and especially if you're going to try in the Challenge Cup as well, it's knockout rugby from here to the end of the season.
well, yeah, and it's about how thin our squad can get in terms of injuries. We've been hit with a lot of injuries, but also we're going to have a lot of people coming back. James McNabney is hopefully going to come back to, well, actually, no, I apologize. I think he's ruled out of the season with another injury, but we have people like Izuchuku can come back. Jack Murphy didn't play because he's been injured with a injury. We've got lots of players that are coming back as well, right at the night, right at a good time. But Leinster, well, Ospreys next week, but that's in the challenge. Leinster the week after. Then we have Munster away. Then we
Saying
have
it now, I think
Ulster.
Leinster are going to send a B team to play you.
That would be so. That would really, really like. We need to send a B team to somewhere in this next. I think it's going to be at Thomond. I think it's going to be Thomond where we don't go full strength for it. We need to rest some players at some point. Ulster, Leinster at home, Munster away, Stormers at home, and Glasgow at home. I would rather we were playing the most
I
difficult
agree. I think you're right. I think you're bang on.
I think we're playing the most difficult teams at home, and I would rather than play at home now and rotate at Thomond. Like we need to rotate at Thomond. We need
Yeah.
to be looking at least 2 wins in those 4 games. I'm not seeing us win in Thomond. I can see us win against anyone on their day at Ravenhill. I know we lost against Connacht last week, but I I think we really need to focus on that Stormers game in particular. If we
Yep.
want to get top 2, call me mad, but if we want to get top 2, that Stormers game's crucial. The Leinster game's also crucial. They're just behind us. The
Oh,
Munster
massive.
game, like the Munster game, we can afford to slip up. The Glasgow game, that's going to be difficult anyway, but it's also going to be dependent on the Champions Cup and how they go, how we go for the
It
Challenge
could be
Cup.
decided by then. It's last game of the season as well. That it could
It,
be.
it could be decided. It could be a case that I think as an Ulster fan, I would hope that we're top 8. Like it's a confirmation of top 8. I think it's like 92% chance of us being in the top 8. It's just a question of where we're going to face, and getting home knockouts in the URC is vital. Like we don't want to go down to South Africa. We don't want to go to Scotland. We don't want to go to Glasgow. We don't want to go to Leinster. We need any points that we can get. And if that is a case of, you know, sending a weaker team to Munster, I don't see us sending a weaker team this week. It's just where we can find ourselves. But I'm loving it. It's
Mm,
the drama that you need, but also my heart rate and my blood pressure is not going to go too well to the end of the season
mm.
with it.
Well, let's just have a wee click on Leinster and see what games they've got coming up. So they've got you away, and like I said, I think they're going to send a B team to that. They've then got Benetton away.
They would go full. I think considering that they've got, it would be Champions Cup the week
Yeah.
before, and what the week after? No, not the week after.
It's
But the
now
week
2
after
weeks of
Benetton.
Champions Cup, and I think they'll go full. Well, no,
Yeah.
this doesn't take a genius to work out. They're going to go full strength in both of those games. And then because they went full strength against the Scarlets, I think they're going to rest for Ulster, and I just can't see them sending full strength to Benetton.
I
But
can
I think
see but this is where the likes of like RG Snyman and Rico Wane is really beneficial in that
RK
squad
Snyder's
because they
out for
can
the
still
season.
oh yeah, of course. But like that's where the likes of Rico Wane is going to be like massively beneficial, and I think Treviso would rub their hands at that prospect. But Leo Cullen wants points, and he wants to get as high as he can, like he can in the URC. I think it's a case of where do Leinster want their success? They want their success in both tournaments, of course, but
Europe though
it'd
is the
be
main
really
thing.
yeah, they want the fifth star, and every time I've mentioned that, the comments are always like, "We're not always focused on the."
You
They
are.
are,
You are.
yeah.
I was in the press conference with Leo Cullen. You only care about the Champions Cup. And
They won the URC, like they've done that. Do you know
and
what
it
I
was like,
mean? Like, but yeah,
when they won
it's
the URC. But
yeah,
it depends because I don't think they are going to win the Champions Cup. As we sit here today, I don't think that's what's going to happen. So if they're out of it, say if they go out ahead of the Lions game, they're going to go full strength the whole way home then in the URC. So
yeah.
it'll be Lions, then Ospreys, and then whoever they get in the knockouts. So I do think that they will get top four. But is it going to be third or is it going to be fourth? Because if you look at it, they're not catching Glasgow. They're 9 points behind Glasgow now. They're not going to close that
See,
in 4 games.
I think it's a case of whether the Stormers could drop off at some point,
Who
and
the
that's
Stormers
what will
got? The Stormers do
decide
need
the
to
likes
come
of
north, I think. So the Stormers are at
yeah.
home to Connacht, home to Glasgow. Then they're away to Stormers, like we've mentioned. That Glasgow home game is massive. And then they're away to Cardiff. That could be a sneaky big game. I might
See,
try and go to that game, actually.
it's one of those where it's such an interesting top four balance.
Mm,
And you can easily have Leinster come second if Stormers drop off. You can easily have
mm,
Ulster come second if they drop off.
mm.
But either Stormers, Ulster, or Leinster, their worst possible, like, well, for Ulster and Leinster's sake, we can still finish like something like sixth and seventh if things go wrong, which
Mm.
is a mad prospect for the league. But it's such an interesting prospect. I think our run in is particularly difficult, and we have injuries,
But
but
it's
we're
at
also getting
home,
players back
though.
at the
And
time.
the
Yeah.
momentum and stuff is going to be really.
But
It's
home last week. Do you know what I mean? We were home last week against Connacht. Connacht had a really good game. Is that a lightning in the bottle, or is that a major wake up for the weaknesses that we have at Ulster?
I'm going to be
I'm
called a
not sure.
Stormers hater again. I'm not a Stormers hater. I said in the preview, I think that the URC needs the Stormers to be as strong as possible, and I really really love the players. I really love the kit, particularly. But I just can't see the Stormers going to Ulster and getting something at this point. I'm morphing into Kevin Keegan again. Before I do that, Mohammed, there's been some mistake. This webpage says that the Lions are in fifth.
Yeah, well done to them. They've got a very difficult run in. So I had it up here on my screen for a little while.
Let's have a look.
Um, so
They got Glasgow at home. That's a hard game. Connacht at home. They got to win that. That's a must win. Leinster away,
and
Munster away.
Munster away.
Ooh,
Yeah, so they've got to get some points here so they can at least secure top eight and
that
first time
Connacht
in the
game.
playoffs.
That's the one. They've got to win
So
that.
yeah. We'll see how that sort of pans out. What's nice though is that there's so many permutations, not just for top four or top eight, but like there's so many teams just outside of the top eight were all scrambling for eighth place. So it's one of the many reasons why we love the URC. Yeah.
Mm. And then we get into the kind of the next gaggle of Cardiff, Munster, Bulls, and Connacht on separated by 2 points. And you got the points differences. Cardiff on -9. That's very Cardiff. Sounds right. Munster -25. Ooh, geez. I swear they were 6 from 7 at the start of the season. What has happened to them? Bulls +57. That's quite a difference. That's quite a difference. Then Connacht +10. How? That makes no sense. I would like a recount on that. Who are we feeling? Who are the vibes with at the moment? I feel like my opinion is that the vibes are with the Bulls.
Yeah. Um, I think I would agree with that.
How's the Bulls running?
I think Connacht have trip to South Africa, don't they? It's
They
all
do.
depending on like it's the tour to South Africa at the end of the season is gonna be less in Connacht's favor and more in the likes of the Bulls.
Mm. Well, the Bulls have got Dragons away. They can win that.
Mhm.
Scarlets away. Thanks for coming, lads. They've got Zebra at home. They're going to win
Yeah.
that.
That's
And then they've got Benetton at home.
Mhm.
They're going to win that.
that's what, four wins.
Yeah, Benetton are a good team,
You
but
know,
they
isn't
might
they going to
still
lose to
be.
the Scarlets?
You heard it here first. But by the time the Bulls versus Benetton at Loftus, Benetton might still be in the Challenge Cup, and they look really like they really want to win that Challenge Cup. So Benetton might also
Yeah.
send like a mixed team before the Challenge Cup playoff game after that. So yeah. I'm also favoring the Bulls to actually jump ahead and maybe
Who's
just
Munster's
end maybe
running?
even above the Lions. Yeah.
Munster away to Benetton. They can lose that. Home to Ulster. Interesting. 50-50. Away to Connacht. History tells you they'd win that. Wow, it's not a bad run-in. And then they got home to the Lions. Munster aren't out of this. Munster are still fighting for this title. I've lapsed into Kevin Keegan again. But it's...
Would you love it? Would you love it, Hugh? Would you love it? I think with Munster is that they need to
I don't like
find the
Cardiff's
consistent.
running at all. I do not like Cardiff's running at all. I'm going to try and get to that Cardiff versus Stormers game now.
I think for Munster's standpoint, speaking as um the Irish head on the show, I think Munster want to find the consistency that they've been so struggling in 2026 to find again. And the terrifying thing about Munster is the last time that they had a similar season, they found form. They won against the Stormers away, and then I think who did they beat in the final for the URC? Was it the Bull? They beat someone in South Africa,
Hmm.
to win the URC, but
Yeah, the
they've
Stormers.
Stormers.
Yeah. That was.
it was a storm. It was the Stormers. They like hit form at like the right time, and Munster being Munster in the traditional sense of that is if they string form together, they could do anything. But it's also would they want to go through the Challenge Cup? Would they want to go for the Challenge Cup? It's that interesting premise of I think Hugh, as I think before the podcast you mentioned, you'd think Ulster would throw this weekend. I think Munster are more in tune to throw the weekend if they want URC qualification. I think Ulster can afford to see how far we can go, but I think Munster, I think it's a different game for them. I think they need to focus on the league.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk on some of the Irish articles that I read that said that like it's going to be a disaster of months that don't finish in the top eight. So yeah, they want them to do well there financially as well, considering some of
Yeah.
the news we had. I mean, even the Cheetahs are doing retrenchments as well, but that's really because as much as the Boks are really good, Saru is still a basket case, and we could have put the Cheetahs in Super Rugby years ago.
Connacht's run-in isn't great. They've got Edinburgh at home, I think, in the last game of the season. Apart from that, I think they're second favourite in every match. And then Sharks run-in. Last team we'll talk about. Sharks run-in, Ospreys away, Edinburgh away, Benetton at home, Zebra at home. So I don't think 2 wins is going to be enough for you to get into the top 8, mate. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, might have to focus on the Challenge Cup and try and win that again to get into the Champions Cup next season. So yeah, oh yeah, no. Ospreys away, Edinburgh away. Well, hopefully we'll get 10 points in the last 2 games and make it entertaining. But then again, we didn't even get 5 points this weekend. So with us, you never know.
Yeah. Who wants to pay me actual literal money to watch Edinburgh versus Sharks? Because
I
that's
mean-
the only way that's happening.
In fairness, the last time they played, it was actually quite good. The Sharks edged it at the end. I think it was like 29-31. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And it was one of those
Right.
ones where it's just for Edinburgh. But sorry, you were saying something, Mohammed?
Yeah, so we won by hook or by crook in that game. Very late as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that brings us more or less to the end of the program. So that just leaves me to say, people on audio, thank you for listening. If you could share a link with a friend, that really helps it grow. Maybe a 5-star review would go some way to that as well. Or if you're on Spotify, leave a comment. Thank you. And I'm also saying thank you to Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Mohammed.
Here's
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
For the sake of this podcast, I have been Welsh Hugh. Enjoy your rugby, and I hope that everybody's team wins. Bye.